So I think the nice thing about our chats and the people that we've spoken to and how this was born was it transcended philosophical, right? It was people like Rob who've owned businesses. I think one of the coolest things about Rob, we've had more than a decade.
My ego again?
No, it's the truth. Well, then watch out for the next thing I say.
Oopsie.
One of the coolest things about Rob is he was 6 million in debt. You know? And now he's on the other side of it, where he's helping me start businesses. And I think that's the side we don't see. Is
lockdown was a biatch.
I remember and I'm so glad we can talk to a man of God today, because one of the most powerful things I ever heard was, I hope you're punished like Jesus was. And a lot of people go and get affronted by that. And they go, oh my God, well, why would you say that? They say, well, because he was the Son of God. He was the king of the land.
Absolutely.
Like, a lot of people think you have all this benefit, but there's no cost. Just because something's difficult to attain doesn't mean it holds value.
Absolutely. And it's funny you should talk about costs, because I don't think people actually realize that a successful life costs you everything. And success is not just money, because everybody seems to think that success is the glitz and glamour. It has nothing to do with that. I think people fail to realize that you want to go to bed at night, put your head on the pillow and have a peaceful night's sleep, not worry about a thing. And I'm happy to say that most nights I can go to bed and I look at the ceiling and I'm content, I'm happy. I owe nobody. I have everything I could ever ask for. I have God in my life, I have God in my heart. You've got the family behind you, and I think a lot of people don't count that when they look at success. Yeah. It's just the cars, the money in the bank, the fancy house, and the fancy clothes, not success.
There's always that iceberg analogy where you see the 10%, which is all the glitz and glam, but they don't see the 90% underneath that. That's all the hard work, the suffering, the tears, the crying, the days you had nothing. That's all underneath the surface. Nobody actually looks at that and goes, what did it take you to get there? What sacrifices did you make to get to where you are? Why did, a lot of people, even like I don't know where our class in terms of wealth rankings, I don't really care, but like people have this perception that I guess I'm content, as you said.
Yeah.
How much money you make, how much can you spend?
Exactly.
And the thing is, and Rob and I reflect on this often, is you have to earn that knowledge of what success really is. And I always quote, how many more rich old people do we need to tell us that they're miserable to realize that the pursuit of profit is not the final pursuit?
Absolutely.
But you have to earn that yourself. And one of the questions I want to unpack with you today was, has your idea of success changed from when you were younger?
I think absolutely. I think, being a young guy, you look at a Ferrari, I want that. Okay, you look at a mansion, I want that. You want the pretty woman in your arm. Okay, that's success for every young person today. I mean, not just when we were growing up. I think I see it more today than anything else. Having a conversation with someone last week, and they're telling me about this post on social media. So some woman goes viral, some young woman goes viral for saying, Cape Town, you want to take me to Cape Town. So Cape Town is no longer a goal destination, and she's like, take me to Dubai. I want Dubai. So that's become
expensive.
That's become life goals. That's become success goals. Growing up, we looked at the fancy cars. I think I always wanted a GT500, that kind of thing. But, I think once you hit your 30s and life really hits you, you realize that, you've been chasing the bag, and chasing the bag is always going to chase the bag.
Yeah.
So, the more you try and chase after money, the more it runs away from you. And I think now I don't think I've actually said this out loud on social media before, but I'm in my 40s, yeah. So I think in my 40s, you kind of learn, okay, right, you're midlife now, what is success? How do I quantify this? It's a total different, way of thinking. Because like you said, there's a cost to wealth. I don't think there's a cost to success, there's a cost to wealth.
Yeah.
And wealth is a very lonely place.
It depends what your definition is.
It's stressful, dude.
Rob said, he's said some pearlers that I always hold on to. One of them is, money is a tool. Why is your life pursuit? To chase tools.
To chase tools, absolutely.
Like, what do you really want to do? And then what I realized is how we often need to redefine what words mean to us. And I remember a simple example, life example of this is that I was dating a girl, we were going out. I said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "Yes." So I said, "Great." For me, that means grab my man bag and let's go out the door. Grab it. There's her hopping on one foot, putting her shoe on, you know, picking out her top. And I was like, I sat there and I wasn't irritated.
I would be.
No, I was looking at it and I thought, and then once it's all simmered down, we're in the car on our way. I said, "What is your definition of ready?" I said, "I'm not fighting with you. I actually want to understand." She says, "I know what I'm wearing and my makeup's done." I said, "From my definition," and I explained it, right? And then we had a little bit of a gap analysis. I said, "My definition of ready is I pick up and I'm gone. What's the time frame between that and getting out the door?" And she said, "Maybe 10, 15 minutes. I said, "So we use the same words,
Yes.
but we hold different definitions."
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are guilty of that. They go, "I want Darren's life." You say, "Great, that's great." I mean, you are to a lot of up and coming guys what success looks like, and that's because people don't see the late nights. They don't see you fighting on the phone. They don't see deals that have fallen through.
And 90%.
You know, I remember Rob, the one Christmas, I thought, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm busy packing stock." I was like, "What do you mean you're packing stock?" He's like, "No, I mean, this is a guy driving a Porsche to his warehouse to pack stock on Christmas." You go to a youngster, you say, "You want a Porsche?" They go, "Yeah, sure." He said, "You want to pack stock on Christmas?" "No, not really." "Well, then you can't have the Porsche."
No, absolutely. And funny, we should go talk about that. You know, I don't think most people actually realized, you know, up until a few weeks ago, I went in to buy another vehicle, right? And bought the vehicle, someone that I knew for many years, probably over a decade. And she says to me, "Darren, what do you actually do?" And I said, "Well, I own all these businesses, so I'm buying this vehicle on the business, it's cash." And she's like, "I always thought that you were a personal trainer." I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I always thought you were in the fitness industry because every time people saw me out was in gym clothes." So literally, people that I knew for more than a decade thought that I was in the fitness industry. And I think I kind of hid that I was in corporate because I didn't really want to show people. So what people are seeing now is not the get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, I see my social media comments at the moment. People are like, "Please teach me Forex." I'm not a Forex trader. My inbox is full of people like, "I want to join your team, your Forex team." I'm like, "I don't do Forex."
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, like, people don't realize that I put my head down, I kept my cards close to my chest, and I just worked because I had a goal for the last 5-6 years. My goal for the last 5-6 years was I'm retiring at 42. Okay. And that was after a lifetime of corporate and walking out of corporate. And I said, I'm retiring at 42. And I was lucky enough to do it 1 year early at 41. So at 41, I decided, all right, how much? Because everything's there, the structures are up, it runs, the businesses run, I can step back and let me enjoy some life. And that's literally what's happening right now. So I'm just making videos, I got the camera guys following me around and they like, just following my life. But like, you know, we're not creating content. They're literally following me around, following my real life. Yeah. I mean, the camera guys are in shock because they're like, we're not creating content like the influencers on social media. We're actually following your real life and this is real. So to them, it's so surreal. And people think that this comes by, I want to start a business, register a business today, and I'm going to be successful by next year. No, I spent 19 years in corporate. I spent 19 years in corporate. And I'll tell you what sparked me leaving corporate. So I worked for a multi-billion rand company, one of the top 5 technology firms in the country. And so my competition were the other 4 top 5 billion rand companies. And we chased after a deal one day. I call it a wildcard deal. It was probably something we would have never won. And I chased after this deal hard. And comes close to closing, we actually get called to a presentation. So, customer calls you to presentation, that's an opportunity. Now you're through the door, you go and close this deal. And I remember my boss at the time, 5 o'clock, packs his bags, walking out the office, comes past me. We have a quick chat about this opportunity, and he looks at me and he says, give up, we're not going to win this deal. And I looked at him and I said, boss, go home. I'm going to win this deal. We'll chat in the morning. Comes back the next day. We get an invite, come and present. We present, the presentation is so positive. I walk out of there in Gauteng and I'm like, it's my deal. This deal's closed. 2 weeks later, we close this deal. I kicked this deal off 300 million, the 300 million rand contract. I signed this deal. We did the first month's invoice. And I walked into my boss's office. Boss, all good, contracts running, stuff on site, first month's invoice is done. No, good stuff, great stuff. And I put my resignation on the table. And he punched the table, crumbled his resignation, threw it into the bin, and he's like, what the hell, no. And I said to him, no, it's time to go. Shut the door and we have this long conversation, what's going on? And I said to him, it has nothing to do with the money. I said, I just closed a 300 million rand deal. I'm not taking the commission. I said, it's me, it's personal. I just feel like it's time to move on. And to the business, that was a shocker. I mean, this went right up to CEO. I think there was a CEO and an MD that flew down to come and probably wrap him across the wrist for losing me. And I was adamant, no, I'm going. And I walked out of corporate. And I walked out of corporate because I just felt like without the support of your superiors and your seniors, they thought that you could never win this deal. And in my mind, in my heart, I just won a 300 million rand deal. If I go out and attempt this and win just 10% of this, I was going to be successful on my own. So that's what happened. I literally walked out of corporate, and God worked, God moved, because one of my current business partners and trustees on my board, he went through a little bit of a bad patch joining another company, and we probably met for coffee a few times a week. And we aligned, and the next thing we combined our knowledge, our experience, targeted the market, and I said to him, you know what, I'm doing this, but I'm doing this on one condition. I've got my companies now that I've started. I've gained the traction on for the first 2-3 months. He wants to bring his company into the fold. We're going to join forces. And I said to him, I'm doing one thing. I'm not starting small. I'm going straight after that top 5 multi-billion rand companies. And I played in their space. So here's the little guy competing with that top 5 multi-billion rand companies. I aimed high because, there's the saying, aim for the stars, you're going to fall somewhere there. Okay? And that's what I did. I competed with the multi-billion rand companies. I had the backing of the OEMs, the backing of the suppliers. I kid you not, a South African distributor of the biggest brands, technology brands that you can find, came to me and said, geez, customers are saying you've gone. Customers still want to do business with you. We're willing to back you. 50 million rand credit with no collateral and 60 days to pay. I mean, if that's not God. And, I always say, build your reputation, because people buy from people. And that was just the whole trust thing. And that's literally how it started. My first 3 months, we did 5.5 million turnover. By the end of the first year, I think we passed 100. 3 years later, we passed the 500 million. And today, we're just shy of $1 billion. And that was the goal. It was always the goal. The knowledge was there. I gained everything in corporate, and that's why I respect corporate, and you respect people. But when I went on my own, I ran as if I'm running this big corporate. So that's literally the story of how I got here. It wasn't Forex.
Not Forex. I mean,
damn, and I was hoping for something.
It wasn't anything juicy. It's like people still think I'm a personal trainer. I still get messages from people, can you coach me? And I don't have the time to coach here. And I mean, from one company,
The thing is you actually want to.
from one company we grew into others because, you know, I'm a firm believer of you do it and you do it fast.
Yeah.
So if I wanted a legal contract, we go out to the legal firms and they're like, we can give you this contract, but we're busy, we can give it to you in 2 weeks. And I'm like, I need this contract now. You know, I'm not going to close this deal if I don't get this contract in 48 hours. Thank God, you know, for COVID and business. Because COVID sank a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
And I went into business literally just before COVID, I started to take on the big guys. And it was 2019 when I started taking on the big guys. And then December 2019, COVID hits China. Then it hits us. And
February, man.
yeah, then it hits us and we go into this whole lockdown, right? Thank God for the few deals that we landed in the new business because it gave me the cash flow that the other guys didn't have. And my overheads were still small. It was literally just a handful of us, less than 10 of us. And that gave me then the opportunity to target those companies that actually did the work for me. So accounting's outsourced. I bought the accounting firm because they were sinking. The legal was outsourced. I bought the legal firm because that was sinking. I'm like, I'll carry your salaries. Okay, so here's the attorneys that can't pay themselves. All the big guys drop their retainers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, I've got the cash flow. I'm going to carry your salaries 6 to 12 months. And I'm buying the companies. Otherwise, it was just going to close. So we ended up now, post-COVID, we own the technology firms. The group owns the law firms. We own the accounting firms, 2 accounting firms. We own the governance and management consulting firms. Now we're doing cross-border transactions. We're doing inter-country relations through Africa. I mean, it was just having the cash flow at the right time, and we were already on that path, like quite aggressively on that path, and we capitalized.
There's blood on the streets, buy property.
Yeah.
Exactly, blood on the streets, buy property. And I did the same, just grabbed on because everybody sold their properties for next to nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, during that time, I saw it as like a culling.
It was an absolute culling.
It's just, it took out so many everythings.
Yeah, it did.
And it really, it kind of like balanced the scales, you know, set the hard worker across. And I mean, not to say that everybody whose company sank didn't work hard, but I mean, like if you really look at it.
We called it in retail a resetting of the baseline, right? When you do a budget, you go, what happened last year, flex it, and you see what that does in the new year. When we saw COVID hit, it was the Wild West, right? Customer spend was different, customer behavior, costs were erratic, some variable.
31 Rand for a mask.
Yeah, variable and fixed costs they went all out of whack, and it was this global reset of the baseline.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Thank God we didn't go into selling masks, right?
We've still got mask stock in one of the retailers.
Funny you should mention that because
Wouldn't surprise me.
I remember that one of the companies does business with, I think, 2 of the companies that you guys acquired.
Yeah.
Right, and I remember there being a period where now, okay, we can this contract or do we still need this contract? Yeah. And it became a need because there was a separation between, obviously, you guys being the holdings company and them still continuing with some of their technology. So I think those contracts are still in place. But you're absolutely right, we saw the global reset. And I think if, you know, those that got caught up in the mental health issues suffer the most. I think there were a lot of people that could have made it out if they didn't let it go to their heads. You know, I had the opportunity of speaking to a lot of CEOs during the COVID period. So I was lucky enough to write my own letter and travel. Right? I was lucky enough to write my own letter and travel. So, and I enjoyed driving during COVID because literally you'll see 5 cars the entire day.
I just drove. Fuck the letter.
I woke up every morning and I dressed up and I went out to do business. Right? So speaking to other guys that were at the companies, literally at the companies, CEOs, MDs, sitting there at the desk trying to figure out stuff. And nothing's happening. And I remember sitting in Riverhorse Valley with the CFO and the CEO. And they had these whiteboards and they were drawing out cost cutting. And they're like, we need to cut costs by 800,000 a month, like right now. Right? And I look at everything and I'm like, guys, I always say don't get emotionally attached to business. Okay? Business is not like your wife. Don't get emotionally attached because it's going to sink, and when it sinks, it's going to sink with you. Okay? And my advice to them was cut all the buildings. Sell all the buildings.
Yeah.
You got to cut stuff here, cut those product lines out. That's it. Some of them had personal homes tied up. I'm like, guys, downsize, move into that home, sell the big one. And here's what happened. This particular set did not listen. Did not listen. They sunk everything. A manufacturing business that I sat with, they listened. The guy literally downsized everything, moved into a flat with the family. And post-COVID, it took them 1 year to get back up again. And I always say, don't get emotionally attached.
That's also the other thing that COVID taught us is how adaptable you have to be.
Absolutely.
And we saw, I was working for a really big retailer at the time, and there was a whole contingent of business owners They were sat there and said, this is how we made our money, this is how we'll survive COVID. And that retailer today, you look at the share price, it's plummeted. Yeah. Right? And it was that mentality that we will survive this the way in which we know how to survive this. And you saw what were veteran traders, veteran leaders in a market, just absolutely heading deal outs.
Yes. The emotions come in.
Yeah.
I think most people don't realize, you don't make money running your business. It's a tough life to run a business. And you suffer, you're going to live a decently happy life, a decently successful life. You buy the fancy cars, some fancy clothes, but you actually make your money on the sale of the business. And that's what people don't realize. My goal on all the businesses is it's going to sell. There's a point, there's a new goal set. It's going to sell. This is the price point that I want. For that price point, who's going to buy? So I already know the listed companies that we have good relationships with. Conversations have already started. I mean, I've had some very good offers, and I could take it and run now. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I can get 3 times that in 5 years. So people don't realize, business owner. Everyone wants to be a business owner by title.
Yeah.
You make money on the sale of the business. So your only goal should be how successful that business is actually going to be.
Battle of the balance sheets.
Yeah.
The balance sheet. You talk about profits and...
Yeah. So the one thing that you're probably suffering from success, right? And that sounds like 2 words that shouldn't be in the same sentence. But I've known you for years now, right? And through the bodybuilding world. So the way I knew you, and you were always pretty kind, you were always liberal with your advice and insight, and you wouldn't mind, I appreciate you wouldn't mind pulling me off the lineup and saying, hey man, you should pose like this and this. I'm like, and at first you go, hey, I'm a flipping SA champion, what can this guy teach me? And then I humbled myself and I listened to you. And now I see you, I see a lot more of your life, which I think is cool, right? And I like the idea that it's not scripted and it is just the way you live. And I think it's so ironic that there's Forex traders and guys who are posing and posturing in a certain way that they're making money that look like you. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's obviously your life and they're trying to emulate it. But I lost my train of thought then now because I was getting...
Were you excited by the fast cars?
I was so excited about the... Oh yeah, so the idea is, right, is that you're suffering from success, and what I mean by that is that I know you before, okay? So, and I see you all dressed up in the fast cars. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's a guy I met from there. And I know the core of someone doesn't really change from when the first time you meet them. Like sometimes it does. But the core of you is still that guy I know from bodybuilding days. So like for me to message you and phone you up and chat to you, I'm like, he's still that dude, okay? I'm glad you're winning. The The risk is, though, sometimes when you have that success, people look at you, and even the way you talk about business, it's very factual, and it's very, this is how you do it. That's almost intimidating to a guy getting started. Because 300 million to a guy getting started, there's guys that are never going to see that kind of money. And they're going to go, oh, shucks, how do I close that deal? Right? Like, did you ever suffer from the demons of doubt?
To be honest with you, I don't think I did.
Really?
I absolutely didn't. Like, so, you know, one of my podcasts coming out just now is going to be on anxiety. So here's the thing, right? Now we're going to bring some spirituality into it. I always say that, and you know, you'll hear a lot of preachers tell you this, the devil's not coming after your weaknesses, they're already your weakness.
Yeah.
The devil's coming after your strengths through your weaknesses. Okay? Remember, your strong point is what makes you you, okay? And if you're someone that believes in a higher being, a higher power, okay, it takes now your strong points to believe in that. You can't be weak and say, I actually believe in something bigger, okay? So the devil's always going to come after your strongest traits. And one of my strongest traits is that I had no fear. Like literally most of my life, I think it's like from 25 upwards, getting like so involved in the corporate world and business, and that I never had fear. There's no anxiety, there's no fear for anything. Like I don't fear people, I don't fear opportunities. The guys following me around now, you know, we were with some very high ranking people recently at a stadium. And I chat to them like we buddies, like normal. And, you know, all these guys want to take photos with them. And like, you know, those guys respect you that much, but like they're literally like trying to get your attention. And I'm like, I don't fear, right? But here's the funny thing. Like I said, the devil will always come. Post now retirement, okay? I went through something that required me to take a little bit of a break. Okay, so between December and like June, I decided that's it. 6 months, I need to regroup, pull myself together. And it's because I felt something that I never felt before. Like this thing that I was diagnosed with in Feb called crippling anxiety. I've never experienced before. I had no fear of anything previously. So when it crept in, or when it started to creep in, I didn't understand it, didn't know what was happening. Until I actually sat in front of someone and I'm like, something's wrong with me. And they went through a long process, 2.5 hours of vetting all my habits that have changed. And they're like, that's because you feared this. That's because you didn't trust this. That's because you were unsure of this. And the fear of the situation that I was in crept in. And that brought upon something called anxiety for me. I've never felt it, never had it my entire corporate life. So, you know, call it cocky or arrogant, while I worked for corporate, if I walked into a briefing, right, customer wants a certain piece of technology or a certain problem fixed, and they call for a panel of service providers to come in and now advise them. I remember walking into Tala Bank one day. I walked into this boardroom, walked in late because there was no parking, driving a sports car, so I can't park on the pavement. And I walked up into this boardroom, it's full. I was probably the last service provider to walk in. There was like 40 people sitting around there. And in the industry, a lot of people would know me. So I greeted the first few, and I'm not going to mention his name, but the first guy I see, he's like, hey, you're here? And I'm like, yeah, you saw me walk in and you're still sitting here. So, I mean, it was cocky. It's like, you know, I walk in, guys, you're losing. Yeah. This is my deal. Kind of thing. I mean, you know, that was who I was. I didn't fear opportunities. I didn't fear talking to people. I think it was 2014, 2015, I got called into a meeting. Well, I got told to come to a meeting. So I jump in the car, go to this meeting, and we get taken across the road by the customer to a court. And I'm like, why are we walking to the High Court? And they're like, no, we have an office there as well. So we walk through the High Court, get to the other side, and he's like, wait here, opens the door, he goes in, comes out, and he's like, okay, be silent, they're still busy, it's going to be a few more minutes, and then we're going to call you up. So I said, guys, hold on, pause. So here's an account manager and an assistant with me, and I said, guys, hold on, this is your customer. I know that we sold a deal into them. What are we here for? Because you told me the customer wants to discuss something. Yeah. What are we here for? And he says, I don't know. They just call us to this meeting. Like, come and talk about the solution that you guys just sold.
In front of a judge.
Rob, it wasn't a judge. When it was our turn, now we're in the passage now. They open these double doors. Guess what I walk into? Chambers, Parliament. I freeze. Because here's everybody sitting around and around. And then you got the Speaker of the House sitting at the top there. And I'm like, are we in the right place? So I said to the guy, and I said, hold on. Who are we meeting with? What are we saying? Why are we here? And he's like, no, you addressing the honorable members. And what are we saying to them? Didn't you guys prep? I'm like, I got told to come to a meeting. They want to discuss something. And then they're like, okay, it's your turn, let's go. Account manager freezes. He walks out the room. He's like, Darren, no. I'm like, this is your customer. He's like, Darren, no, I can't. The guy takes me by the hand, takes me to the front. I get to the front. The speaker's wrapping up. She's getting off her chair. And she says to me, no, you take the speaker chair. I'm done. I'm getting off. And I'm like, what do you mean take the speaker? She's like, no, you're addressing. You're addressing the members in the speaker chair. So I sit on the speaker chair. It's like a throne, all right? I sit on the speaker chair and nobody wants to listen. And I'm like, how do I start here? Because there's this noise. Everybody's talking. There's this noise and someone shouts up. One of the politicians stands up and he looks at me and he says, Speaker, call for order. And all I thought in that moment was the news. Watch the news. There's a hammer in front of me. I pick up this hammer 3 times and I'm like, order. And the room goes silent. And I'm like, did I just call all the politicians to order? And I winged it. Literally, I winged it. I just winged it. I kind of had an idea what we're talking about. I winged it for 5 minutes. They didn't get it. It went over their heads because I'm talking technology. The politicians, it went over their heads. And I said, guys, we're going to change this up a bit. I'm coming down. I've got my staff. We're going to come around to you and we're just going to do meet and greets and talk and just like have general chats and you ask us about the solution. So, I mean, you know, I came from that. There was no fear. There was no anxiety.
I guess also being put in that situation, I mean, like fear and anxiety would be onset by the need to lie.
Absolutely.
So if you're sitting there and it's like, look, you have to tell the truth and you tell the truth and you've got nothing to hide, I guess there is no, because I mean, remember how I set down with anxiety. I've always had it as 3 different stages. Anxiety is caused by 3 things, in my view. One is you're doing something you shouldn't and something's about to fuck out.
Absolutely.
So that's anxiety state number 1. 2 is you're ill prepared. You are going into something, you're not prepared for it. And I've always used an exam as an example. You're ill prepared for the exam and you're anxious about the exam. And the third thing is it's a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. Someone close to you passes, you're in a car accident, you know, something out of the ordinary
this
happens.
Veil of uncertainty in life.
And it's caused a shock. I need to quickly make a plan. I need to rearrange something. You know, there's your 3 sets of anxiety. And I've always said 90% of someone's anxiety is because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. So, you know, if you're going to go sit in front of Parliament and have to go and talk, and you just sit there with that attitude of, I'm going to tell you the truth. You've got nothing to lie. You don't have to sit there and think, oh, what am I going to say? Or how am I going to say it? Or I didn't have time to prepare, you know, as politicians do, sit there conveyancing all the bullshit that they're going to tell you.
Absolutely. So, you know, coming back to, you know, chasing big business dreams and, you know, the fear behind it. You know, like Rob said, if you're going in prepared, there's nothing to fear. I think the difference comes in when, and I see it a lot now with the younger generation, everybody wants to be a businessman. What business? No, I don't know, but something. And you think that registering a business makes you a businessman. It's not. It's a start. It's just the paperwork. What is the actual plan? what am I doing? How am I going to do it? And why am I doing it this way?
And then do it.
And then do it. And what are the goals? What are the goals for this year? What's the goals for 5 years? And what's the goals for 10 years? And what's your end goal? So if you're going in planned, and that's the biggest mistake people make. Everybody wants to run a business. I had the opportunity of speaking to someone this morning that lost their job in a big corporate, head of a department. And they've just registered a business, going into something totally different, and now trying to get opportunities, so they're hopeful. And I'm like, but do you have experience in that? No, but I heard these group of people tell them that they can be successful. There's lots of opportunities in that. So you register a business and I know nothing about tattooing. Imagine me registering a business tomorrow, opening up a store and saying, right, let's tattoo.
You're going to land up with a lot of lawsuits.
It's never going to get off the ground.
Yeah.
And that's what people are doing today, because nobody wants to work anymore.
Yeah.
I've got to where I am by working for 19 years in corporate.
Yeah.
And then getting into business was quick, it was easy. The experience was there. I read the book. Yeah. We were prepared.
And we talk about this idea of success, the definition of success, pursuing it. And the one thing you said about how you quit corporate, a lot of success as we define it as we get older becomes what resonates with your identity, right? Who is Darren? And that's a question that comes from the ego. And I had to do that with my injuries. Often go, was I Sheldon the bodybuilder or was I Sheldon, right? Like how much do we strip away from Darren before you stop becoming yourself, right? What are these earthly things you hold on to? What is your soul? And when you start looking at things like it, you do have these moments where you're like, I'm not going to surround myself in a place where when I need to close deals, people don't believe in me because I know I can do it, right? And that becomes that idea, that vision of yourself. Have you always understood what your calling is and what you're being called to, or how much of that has been within your realm versus, let's say, faith?
Interesting. Someone just asked me, actually the interview before this, the person just asked me how much of my faith did the last year affect? Yeah. Because they've known me for a long time as well and know the core of me, the character, okay? And my calling, and I've always believed that my calling was to help and to give, okay? There's a verse that's always resonated with me. So many people throughout my life have come back and said, do you know, I just want to tell you this, to whom much is given, much is expected, okay? And that's who I am. I'm a giver, okay? I just give things away. I'm someone who can't say no 99% of the time. And that's,
ask him for $1 million.
Hey,
it'll be the 1%.
that's my next sentence, you know, and that's gotten me into a lot of trouble, okay?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Into a lot of trouble, you know, because with that comes a lot of giving that will never come back.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in December, my trustees said to me, Darren, you need to start collecting. You've got like $3.5 million out in loans to personal people, like friends and family. And that's a lot of money. So it does get you into certain situations, but part of who I am is a giver. So, you know, I have to set some boundaries now, okay? And those boundaries are very simple. I actually did a little clipping that said, if you come to me and you have a roof over your head, you have a car that you drive, you've got clothes on your back, you should not be coming to me. I'm going to help you by referring you to the people that I would go to if I needed help in your situation. Okay, so here's the bankers that call me almost every day. Okay, maybe they can help you because I don't take credit, I don't need the credit. Get them to help you and mention my name. Let's see if they're willing to help you and if they can help you. The little kid, the guy on the ground that doesn't have a car, doesn't have a roof over their head, can't afford school clothes to go to school, can't afford to get to school, can't afford food on the table, there's no jobs in that household, still living in rondels or shacks, and there's millions of them in our country. I give freely. I give absolutely freely. The person next to me, not living in those shacks or those novels and things like that, comes to me. Is it a registered NPO? What is your core values of that NPO? Who do you support? If it makes sense, I send it to the board. They know if I'm sending it to them, it's a yes from me already. They make a decision on it and we help. And that's some of the boundaries that I've had to set. So, what makes me me, I'm a giver.
I've always battled with that as well, because I've always said to Sheldon, that there is the punishment for success. And the more you make, the more people want to take. And where you have to set those boundaries where it's like, I understand I have all these nice things and you don't.
Yeah.
But also, again, with the whole 90-10, you don't see how much shit I had to put up with to achieve this. And now you're coming to me asking me for this, and I have to say no. I feel shit saying no.
Yeah.
But also, I remember when I looked at somebody and I was at a stage where I was in so much debt, trying to keep things afloat. Because it was during lockdown, I didn't want my staff to go hungry. I kept paying them. The landlords didn't give two shits. They just kept on collecting. So it just got to a point where this is how it became. And I looked at the guy and I was like, you could literally make all these problems go away and would you even notice it? Would you feel it? Would anything in your life change? And I sat there and I'm so grateful that it wasn't just handed to me like that, because I feel I would have lost that opportunity of developing all that resilience, all that knowledge, all that learning of how to get myself out of shit, to actually build something out of it.
Absolutely. Funny enough, right? I think it also boils down to how much of respect do people actually have for you.
Yeah, it's also not just you. Now, do you respect me or what I have? Exactly. Yeah. Do you respect my values, my core, my person, or do you respect my material stuff?
So, this is the uncut part now, right? And that's why we started the DH Uncut podcast, because we hold nothing back now, right? So, I don't think people actually realize coming to you to ask you for $1 million to bail them out of a bad situation. It's not just them. There's probably 2 other people that phoned you on the same day, or 3 other people that phoned you that week, right? And now it's totaling $3 million. And you caught between who do I help? Yeah. So I don't think people actually realize it's not just them. There's so many other people.
People don't. Remember, people are inherently self-serving, right? And it's a primordial programming. It's how we're made. We're supposed to survive. Now, what happens is when you're in that survival mode, like so many people are, what they're going to do is prioritize them, right? They see abundance and they don't understand the cost. They don't understand what it's taken to get there. All they see is, man, this is a solution. And they really don't. I remember one of the most awesome compliments I ever got from Rob is he said, I can phone you and tell you about my success and you never want to know where's your peace. And I was like, jeepers, why would I? You winning is me winning because
it's so rare.
It's absolutely rare, and it's so important. Again, as men in business, to have your core people around you. Okay, those people don't come easily if they're the right people. They're very hard to
hand pick them, and you've burnt your hands 700 times in the process.
Like you said, do they respect you, the millionaire, or do they respect you, the person? Yeah. Take all the wealth away. Who would phone you up and say, let's go for dinner?
And who's okay with McDonald's?
And literally, and I'm going to be honest here, nobody would phone me and say, let's go out for dinner. Literally nobody from the public, besides my top 4, right? So I've got a top 4, I always call them my top 4, my pillars, in front of me, behind me, on my right and on my left, right? The 4 men around me. My board of trustees, right? One's a cowboy, so he's a risk taker, okay? but the risk taker makes money. Okay. The other one is my voice of reason. Years of experience. He's in his 60s. We get on like a house of fire. People actually think he's my dad because we spend so much of time together out in public. And then the legal, and then the accountant. But they all need to be like that close to you. But I trust them with my life. Like I can disappear, be in a coma for 2 years, and I know that everything would run perfectly. That's the level of trust. And there were probably moments in time that you doubt, and you ask yourself, are these the right people? Are they genuine? Are they real? And then I think something would happen in your life where you absolutely hit a rock bottom space and you look around you and see who's there and what their reaction is and what their emotions are. Like I literally saw grown men stand beside me and cry. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, we never seen you in this state. And when the tears came down, I realized I got the right people around me. And between that four, it's normal to do a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, and I won't pull out a card because I know it's between us. But besides your four pillars, and I don't know that Vusi says 5, for me it's 4.
You are the first.
So who actually calls you up, hey, let's go for dinner?
Yeah.
Let's go for lunch. Let's do a breakfast.
So there's a really cool acid test to see how strong your friendship circle is. I think I phoned you up last year. I said, if you were in a foreign country and you got imprisoned, who could you phone that either had influence or means to get you out? And who would phone you? Right? Like if that's not a two-way street, absolutely, are you doing life right?
So yeah, I think a lot of questions have come up, and I think I realize I've got the right people around me, okay, in the business sense. And obviously, people in business would you become your best friends, because the level of trust there would, in most cases, supersede most friendships or general friendships. So I think that's important.
You speak to each other and you understand each other. It's that, and that's what I was saying when I was saying to Sheldon as I can talk to you about money and you don't look at me like I'm being arrogant. You see it as what it is, factual.
Absolutely.
You understand it. You don't develop animosity or jealousy towards it, because like how I view money, I see it. I actually hate it. I hate it. I fucking hate money.
Absolutely.
I hate it. I
don't think people actually realize how much we resent it.
I don't like it. It's a tool, because it's a tool that someone will try and use to kill you.
Absolutely.
That be it whatever, blackmailing routes. I mean, like during my divorce, it was my ex-wife would use any tool possible to blackmail me for what? Money. All she wanted was a bigger settlement. That's it. And they would use everything against you, your children, your past, any mistakes you've ever made. And I mean, who's closer to you than your wife at the time to drag out any skeletons type story?
Yeah, we learn a lot of lessons on the way. And we all know about weaponizing. I mean, they'll weaponize anything. Part of the problem with, like you said, lonely in success and wealth comes down to how much do you actually let out. I haven't had a single relationship where my partner actually knew what businesses, what amount of wealth, nothing. I probably disclosed little bits of it. They were probably exposed to a few meetings, a few business partners, a few companies, but not everything. Never everything, just what was actually necessary.
And I'd like to dig into that, because that's the burden of information, right? I remember once we got broken into, and I actually saw the bloke that broke into the house. And I remember the person I was with at that time was like, "Did you see the guy?" And I looked at her and I said, "No." I didn't lie to her because I didn't want her knowing. I lied to her because I didn't want to describe a person that she was going to look for in the streets.
Absolutely.
Right? I realized there was the burden of information to give something to someone that they couldn't do anything with. We do the same with budget meetings. You don't go and tell your debtors clerks that you aren't hitting revenue, because all that's going to do is disrupt their sleep.
Absolutely.
It's a burden. And it's something that a successful man has to carry.
No, you have to carry, and I tell you what, it's an inner turmoil.
Yeah.
That's probably the one thing that's going to keep you awake at night. The information, because you can't let it out. If it's not going to be a burden to your partner now, it's going to be something that's weaponized later.
See, and that's where also I was again complimenting to Sheldon. I can offload that information to him, knowing that 1, it's safe. 2, he's not going to use it against me. 3, he doesn't want it. He wants nothing from it, apart from, that's cool, or that's really shit.
No wonder you're in a foul mood.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think it's very important that you have at least one friend where you can, you don't pay psychologist.
Absolutely.
Where you can only just, hey bud, I'm having a shit day, or I'm having a great day, and I want to share this with somebody. Where it just, you have that.
It's such a unique thing to have, and yet it's such a valuable thing to have. Because if I never had these pillars around me, I would probably not even be here. I mean, the pressure gets to that level. I'll probably never be here. So I literally owe my life to the forum. I can honestly and openly say that.
We talk about this often, and it's something that comes up in Sunday service. That question around, why does suffering exist? And I'll say something controversial, that I'm glad you got crippling anxiety, because it helps you relate to a large portion of people that look up to you.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, for me, sometimes you look upwards and you're like, I can't relate to that guy at all. There's nothing human about this man. He walks in closing 300 million rand deals, he quits without getting his comm. Like, I can't relate to that. But then you say something, you have a moment of vulnerability, like, oh, I've got crippling anxiety. I'm like, me too, dude. Like, how do you overcome that? Like, I believe in my life, and maybe this is just self-preservation and rationalization, that suffering is a gift. Like, going through really shitty times. Rob is one of the most empathetic guys when it comes to relationships, because he's had some pretty shitty ones, right? Thank you, Rob, for taking those bullets. You've probably had some really awkward business deals, like, that's why you close. Yep. But there is that element of, are you relatable?
So, funny you should mention, Rob, I need relationship advice from you.
Whoa, okay. What are we dealing with here, my friend?
In another interview, not this one. Let's not cloud this one, right? We'll go through the other one. Rob, I know you for how long do I know you? 2010, 2011, somewhere there.
But I knew you when I was still doing SAP. And I remember. Kajima. And I sat there, and you were telling me about some laptops. And you were trying to organize laptops for... But the issue is they didn't know how to turn them on. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was like 15 years ago.
But we were working, and I was doing I can't even remember which municipality it was, but I was trying to teach these guys how to use SAP.
And they didn't know how to switch the laptops on.
This was 2010. Maybe even earlier. And I mean, I've always just known you as Darren from IFBB. I mean, I took very little, don't take this as offense, but I never really took interest in your business interests. I mean, even when you came past my house the one day, it was like, you're working on this business deal and this business deal and that property, and I'm like, nice. Like, good for you. Yeah. I had no idea you even bought properties. Like, I just always knew Darren as Darren.
Bodybuilding.
The guy who I
trainer.
come and say hello to at the shows and be like, "How's life?"
He's the worst personal trainer. He has no clients.
He's like, "Dude, it's good," or "It's great," or
The guy has no clients. What personal trainer is he, and how does he drive all these fancy cars? And
it didn't even how or why or what. It doesn't actually matter because I just know you as.
But Rob, you are one of the most accepting people I've ever seen in my life.
no, he absolutely is.
Anyone walks in here and no judgment, dude. You like, I remember training with this guy because we train in the morning sometimes, and he's a lot better now. But when we first started training, it's just like, it's networking. This guy here, and I'm like, how do you know that guy? He's like, no, I just met him now. I'm like, wow. Sorry, but you were going to ask for relationship advice. Because remember, the whole premise of this is stuff you'd want your past self to know. And Rob's done all the heavy lifting.
I think, Rob, we're going to leave that for another one.
Well, I can give you this one. I saw this one on Facebook today and I thought it was great. The heavier they are, the easier they are to pick up.
Oh. It's like after a few tequilas.
Yeah, the goggles, okay. He's going to give you relationship advice that isn't going to be good, though.
Oh, no. I'll tell you how to fuck it up and then do the opposite.
Yeah.
No, listen, some of the stuff I've been through, the book hasn't even been written. But, like, listen, when I unpacked this thing, the closest man to me, also pastor, he looked at me and he says, Darren, no. He says, there's a book, right, on how you should do relationships, and the book that you need has not been written as yet.
Either that or it's been like written by Anton LaVey and we just haven't found it yet.
Dante's Eighth Circle of Hell.
Yeah, so like, no, the book hasn't been written.
It's a weird one. Like, I'm in the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, right? It is.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and it actually Rob's referral, so thank you, Rob. And it's because he knows me, and you know, you get to a point where you're grateful for what you've gone through, because one of the things I sincerely believe is resilience is the traumatic event less the unhealthy coping mechanism.
Yes.
Right? So you'll go through relationships where you'll be cheated on, you'll be lied to, you'll go through all these things, and you get that resilience. You survive that, right? And heartbreak is not unique. Everybody survived heartbreak, probably since the beginning of time. So it's not this thing that only Rob goes through, only Darren or only Caleb is going to go through. We're all going to go through heartbreak, and hopefully you get it out earlier and it doesn't change you. That's the important bit. So now I sit in a very healthy relationship, and there were versions of me that I've learned that I have to love that were in past relationships. Not good versions, not versions that I wish were present in this relationship. Versions that reacted in a certain way, whether rationally or not, or fairly or not. But we take these things, we take these relationships, and hopefully you heal. And you take a healed or a version of yourself that's aware of these unhealthy responses into the next relationship.
Also, you get to experience what you do want and what you don't want. What you can handle and what you can't handle. You learn how to establish your boundaries sooner. Like, have those hard conversations on the first fucking date. Like, listen, I'm going to be intentional about this. And I think you and Renee were very much like that. It's like, this is my intention and these are my boundaries. When it came down to, okay, we're moving in together, let's sit down and talk budget now.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're earning. And I think it's important that you readdress it often. Like with it, on the budgeting side. I mean, it's like, you know more than anybody how quickly business can grow. Yes. Or how quickly it can sink. You sit there going, okay, cool. We had the conversation in 2010. You and I, we were completely different places in our lives, earning completely different numbers. What we have now is shit we would never have dreamt of then. Or yes, dreamt of, but they were dreams. We had no idea where we were going to be. But now imagine having that conversation then, now. You're sitting there going, okay, well, love, we're staying in a 10,000 rand a month flat, and this is how we need to budget. As to opposed to, I've just done a 300 million rand deal. This is how we need to budget. Completely different conversations. And you can't expect to have the rules set here, apply here. Yes. Especially now if there's a massive gap in ratio, etc., etc. So it's important to establish your boundaries quickly and readdress them as circumstances start changing, because otherwise...
You also earn that though, you know, and you'll know this from businesses. We're looking at doing a couple of new projects, and the first thing we do is the vision, right? And it's no surprise Renee is a God-fearing woman, right? And that's why we were able to lay the foundation very early of what's expected and the vision of this relationship. But one of the most important things is when you endeavor in something new in business is we look at readiness, right? So this piece of technology or this project is really cool, but are you ready? Right? Do you have the right staffing? Do you have the right infrastructure? Do you have the right network, the budget? Is there a readiness that's taken place? And like, there's a certain amount of things that you just can't learn. You have to endure, right? So the Rob 10, 20 years ago is a guy that wasn't ready for these conversations. You had to lose a lot, right? The Darren that's talking about peace and sitting here, God-fearing, had to go through, that's what the devil tempted you or hurt you with, to go and you've earned that. That's yours to keep. Right? It's the armor you get to wear from all the suffering you've gone through.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a nice way of thinking about it. It's a nice concept. You know, the problem comes in when you start thinking like a businessman in a relationship.
Oh yeah, fair.
Because literally, I think I can put my project management cap on very quickly and have those conversations about boundaries, where we are, where we're going, how do we get there, and everything in between, and then
come deadpan.
Yeah.
You remove emotion.
Kill the romance.
And it's...
I remove emotions. When I'm having those conversations, I remove emotions, right? Because my boundaries are here. But, you know, I also think the dynamics of the world has changed in terms of relationships, male, female, the whole works. I mean, compared to Rob, you and I probably the same age, I don't know, maybe. But, I mean, right, relationships back then and relationships right now, two totally different things. And
that old school mentality is dying, unfortunately.
It is absolutely dying. And, you know, for me, anything, I think you guys would have seen a post I put out recently where it said, I will not do business with someone who cheats on his wife. Yeah. Because if he can cheat on his wife, he's going to cheat on you.
How someone does anything is how they do everything.
So, you know, God first. Okay? God first in everything. So, you find a God-fearing partner or someone who is pretending to be a God-fearing partner, or wanting to be a God-fearing partner but not there as yet because they see you, they see your lifestyle, and they're like, yes, I want, yes, I will obey, yes, I will abide, yes, I'll follow the path of ministry, and then realize that it's not as easy as they thought it would be. It's not as easy as you thought, because yes, there's shopping sprees, yes, there's the fancy cars, you can drive what you want, you can buy what you want, but at the back of the head, it's, okay, let's stay humble. Know the word. Are we coloring outside the lines? Where do we bend the rules and where do we break the rules? Yeah. You know, and you know, setting the boundaries. Now let's talk about setting the boundaries. Now, your boundaries are here. I won't accept X, Y, and Z. And how many people have we met that would be like, no, fine, happy with that. I'd give up X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Well, there's certain things that are non-negotiable.
And non-negotiable. So, you know, I'd give up the X, Y, and Z, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm happy to proceed. Okay. And next thing you find out that, hold on, X is still there, Y is still here. Z, yeah, probably, maybe I've got this feeling, and then Z just pops up. And it's like, I can't get rid of any of them. Yeah. It's still there. Far down the line.
Yeah.
Well, Darren, if you're wanting advice with this, I think that boundary shift, if it's your person, would happen seamlessly.
Yeah.
Where I think when Sheldon and Renee met and it became something, it all just happened seamlessly. With me and Bianca, when things started falling into place, it happened seamlessly. It's like God almost, she put her house for sale, within 2 weeks it was sold. Type story. She wanted to move down because she was in Joburg, and it just, if it was meant to happen, it happened. It's like with your businesses. It just, if it's supposed to happen, it flows in. And if there's resistance, it's God saying, hey, listen, I know she's a great shag, but it's not for you. And the longer you don't listen, the harder the blindsambo comes.
Someone shared that there's a Japanese saying that the longer you ride the wrong train,
further you are away from your destination.
Yeah, and the more expensive the ticket is to get back home.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I saw that and I actually felt that, because here's the funny thing, right? Last year businesses were stagnant. Not doing bad, okay? On target, the bills are all paid, but none of the new deals come through. None, zero. Okay, so there was no growth, okay? It just rode the wave. Businesses just rode the wave. And, you know, I always believe you eat last. Okay, so I take my cut based on the exorbitant targets and goals that I set, which I know is achievable. Get there, I'll take mine. So now it's here. So I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting now for Christmas. And the funny thing is, it frustrated me a bit. And I came home the one day and your partner sits next to you, and I get off this very frustrating phone call. I remember I was shouting on the phone. And your partner looks at you and says, do you think it's because of me that all your businesses are starting to stagnate? Because you were really successful and now everything's kind of on freeze. And I'm not going to lie, the shocker was, what guilt are you hiding? That you believe that you are affecting my life in this manner. So that was like a huge eye-opener. That was my walls go up. And it was like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. There's something in the background. There's something that's affecting this whole dynamic. And I start to feel it in the spirit. There's something wrong, because there were obviously flags that popped up, and this coming out your mouth. I mean, would your partner or your wife ever ask, is it me? Do you think it's me that's causing it? Wow. Why would it be you? Unless there's something wrong.
You can often tell what people are scared about or what people are doing by what they talk to you and ask you what you're doing. Right? There's that whole famous study in infidelity. If your partner is checking your phone, you're going to check theirs. There's going to be nonsense. Right? Look where they go and search. Right? What questions? So 100%. And that is wild. And when did your intuition kick in there? Was it divine, or was it like, hey man, I've been around the block. This is a weird situation.
There's a rat.
Yeah.
For me, it was divine, and I kind of blocked it out. Okay. I've always said throughout my life that my mom was my bridge to God. She's the one that aligned me with God, right? Very spiritual. Actually took her last fall in church before she passed away while praying for the congregation in front. Okay, so that was my mom. And I had a dream one night. Mom popped up and she said, come home. That's it. She said, come home. And I woke up. And I was like, what? Why? What does this mean? I actually got up. It was like 2 a.m, walked around the house, started praying and things, right? And, you know, intuition kicks in and you're like, is mom saying come home from this situation? Or is it something else? Because I can't pinpoint anything else in my life that I'm doing wrong or gone off track. So, you know, that's the spiritual side coming into it. When you're with someone that is not God-fearing, admittedly, now you're in an unequally yoked relationship, right? Now your morals and beliefs are going to be misaligned, because I'm hardcore when it comes to the Bible. Like literally, we sitting and having an argument, I'm going to go straight to a Bible verse. If I have to pull out the Bible, that's what it's going to be, okay? And red flags would be like, I jump in the car in the morning. The first thing I do every morning when I jump in the car for the first time is I pray. Safe traveling mercies. I do it in the car. So drive out the driveway, praying in my head, safe traveling mercies. The music comes on, blasting, and now your partner's rapping, wet woman genitals, men's genitals so big you think something's in your mouth, I don't know what. While you're praying, and you freeze, okay? And you freeze, and you're like, what the hell? Why? Immediate thought is, here's the devil. And I'd be like, no, turn the car around, I'm going back home. So, the red flags do pop up.
Yeah.
But goes back to, you can go to church as often as you want. Do you read the word? Do you believe the word? Hardcore, that's the word. Yeah. Because, we have motivational pastors nowadays. Yeah. Okay, so they motivate you. You can be anything that you put your mind to, and you can be anything that you want to be, and you can be, everybody can be successful, and not everybody can be successful. God's not going to entrust just anybody with that much wealth. Because I always said the last year of my life, teaching people that got close to me in my inner circle, or call it new family. What is my demons? What do I wake up with? And my biggest demon is, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, do I now turn? Okay, do I turn heel? Do I still be me, or do I look at all the frustrations about everybody that's asking me for things, everybody that's putting cuck in my life, and say, stuff this, I'm just going to go and party. Pop champagnes, take girls on yachts in Dubai, and live that life and enjoy the world? Or do I still stay on this right path? Because literally, with all that wealth, you can do whatever you want.
I have a coffee shop called Heartful, which is already existing, but somewhere else where I just sit there and serve people milkshakes.
So, you can go and do all of that, or put your head down, pray, come back to God, and I know the situation. Yes, I'm going through it for a reason, and I'm just going to stay on the straight and narrow. Yeah. It's a difficult decision. Every morning you wake up, that's a difficult decision. Yeah. You can be single and waiting on God for the right one. And it's like, do I now just go and entertain everybody in my DMs? Yeah. Because you can. And literally, if I can message any one of them, phone any one of them, and they're going to be there. But do you go down that road? No, you're a high value man.
No,
it's transactional. It becomes transactional.
No, it becomes transactional.
And you look at the life you want, and one of the things I often say to guys is, what do you want? Right? Like, what do you want in life? What do you want in a relationship? I said, write it down. And when it comes to relationships, guys will write all the nice words down. Beautiful, trained, supportive, loyal, all these things. That's a great list. That's beautiful. Are you the guy that deserves a woman like that? Often people are quite affronted by that. Say, okay, and in the same token, do you want, Louis Vuitton shoes? Do you want these things? Are you the guy that's willing to do the work for those? Or do you think it's going to get handed to you? And I remember one of the most scathing things I ever journaled around someone that I held a lot of resentment towards was, people like me don't actually associate with people like that. And it was a moment of weakness that I afforded myself to give you a position you never deserved. And that gave me peace. I just thought, I don't harbor resentment. I took the power back. I said, I gave you an identity that wasn't yours. I said, I hope you find that vision of your best version of yourself. Right? And maybe we bring out that worst version of people. We've also got to humble ourselves to that. Yes. But that's also that readiness. It's like, are you ready in your life to receive that which you want or think you want?
Exactly.
You're in a really cool position now. And I get a little bit irritated when people go and they say, oh, you've made it, say you've now got an obligation to help other people make it. They go, well, that's not it. And some people embrace that. I think it should be a choice. But if you look at your socials and the life you're living, your authentic self, you're in that position to influence people. Like, what kind of message do you want people, if someone saw your socials or they spoke about you and it was a well-meaning person, we don't need to impress people that are jealous or envious or harbor hatred towards you. Like that, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about a youngster. He saw your photo of your first car, you know, I think it was an Opel, right? Opel. Yeah, he saw that photo of the first car and he looks at you now.
City Golf.
And it's City Golf. The one was the City Golf.
I had a City Golf.
And he looks at you now and he goes, that is worth aspiring to, right? You're the honor that people bestow on you to pursue the life that you have. Like, how would you want people to describe you? Say, Darren, and then this guy who's well-meaning, and it's well worth getting a compliment and being spoken about in his circle. How would you want him to describe you?
Man of God.
Man of God.
And that comes up in so many of the comments now that I see from pastors around the country and around the world saying, man of God bless you, because pastor can sense it. Okay, we sense these things. And that's what I'm seeing coming up more now, and I appreciate that because they get it. They look at everything and they get that one aspect from everything. And I'll still say to any young person, God-fearing first. Someone asked me, can anyone be as successful as me? And I said no. Okay, because a motivational pastor is going to tell you that everyone can be. Right? And I'm still adamant it's a no. Going back to that verse, to whom much is given, much is expected. Okay, so God will bless you. Okay, and you know there's a preach that I heard on Sunday. Okay, God will bless you for giving. God will bless you more than the receiver. How many people would actually get into this position and still give away? But you don't wait for this position to give away. You give away while you're climbing the ladder. Because I was always the giver. I mean, when I was salary earned, I give everything away. And there were days, I'm not going to lie, there were days that I would lie that the shops were closed. There were days I would work out extra at the gym to go home after Checkers closed to say that I was too late to buy the bread, but I didn't have the money to buy the bread.
See, dude, that is a story that is just, it's so great, it's so relatable.
Absolutely. So, you know, I've been through that. Go home late and the shop is closed.
And what did you tell yourself in that situation? Like, how did you know you were destined for something greater?
Absolutely. I absolutely knew I was destined for something greater, and absolutely knew that I just had to stay on that path.
Okay.
It was going to come. I could feel it, I could see it, I could sense it. And even at that time, I was still adamant I'm retiring at 42. Didn't have the money in the pocket. The one day, still working for corporate, and I was we were driving back to the office. My immediate manager, myself, and before we went up to the office, he needed to get something from the shop. And he asked me for $50. It was my last $50. And I couldn't say no, so I just gave him the $50. So he bought his bread. It was my last 59. There's still a few more days to payday. Okay. Charles, I kid you not, I took out all my cards. Okay, that evening after work, took out all my cards, went to the Standard Bank ATM, drew 10 Rand. Went to the ABSA ATM, drew 10 Rand. And I went through the car, under the seats and everything, to scrape up to buy the bread.
Wow, dude.
That was life.
Yeah.
So people think I made all this money from Forex overnight. No, we have been through that now.
Yeah, I had the same. I went to London pursuing articles, and I just budgeted poorly. I mean, I did my articles in Maritzburg. Then I went straight to London, big city. Got there, I forgot that I joined mid-month, prorated my salary, paid my rent, paid this. And then I went to buy food, and the card was declined. Like, I'm in a foreign country, I don't have any money. I'm like, And I actually can't remember how I survived. Like I couldn't ask my mum for money. I had no friends. It was like my first couple of days there, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna survive. Here I am today, 10 years later. I did survive London, spoiler alert.